ostrich is having none of this. Get away from my baby. So he's coming at us with his wings flapping around. He's going, rah, rah, rah. Yet didn't quite have the effect he was going for. But yes, we were threatened by an ostrich. Scary bears. Now, what tale of African adventure would be complete without a tale of man-eating lions? Oops, wrong lions. You see, one day, my family and I went out for a picnic. They have these actual areas out in the preserves where they have these cement picnic tables, and we'd had a picnic. And after we'd finished our meal, we all packed back up into the Volvo, and we started driving off. And after a little while, my mother was wondering why I was so quiet. So she looked in the back seat and, surprise, no Carma. Oh my God. So they drive all the way back to the picnic grounds. Still no Carma. They're wondering, oh my God, was she taken by hyenas? Was she eaten by lions? And just at this point, I wake up. I had curled up behind the back seat where they couldn't see me, and they didn't even think to look in the back of the car for me. So no, not eaten by lions. The closest I came was one of our neighbor's dog was swept away out of the backyard by a leopard, and we lived in the suburbs. When most people think of Africa, they probably think of elephants. And I kind of have an elephant story. I call it the elephant tree incident. You see, there are these trees that are growing in Africa that have these thorns coming out of all over the trunk, all over the branches. They're really thorny trees. And they're called elephant trees because the elephants like to go up to them and scratch their backs and sides. Well, one of these grew in the backyard of my friend Nicholas, who lived about 3 houses that way. And my dad came up with this brilliant idea. Let's put Carma up in that tree and take a picture. So we trot on over to Nicholas's house, and I take one look at that tree, and I'm like, in a 3 or 4-year-old's point of view, hell no. There was no way Dad was going to get me into that tree. So we trudge on back home, and Dad is grumbling. He is pissed off. We had gone all the way over there, and then he's telling my mom, Carma, Carma. And my dad's kind of scary when he's mad. So I went, okay, I'll do it. So, and he goes, are you sure? And I'm like, yes. So we trot on back to Nicholas's house, and he did get that picture. But as you can see, I was still none too happy. He lifted. I have a question for you. Have you ever played dress up and not been recognized by your parent? I have. One day, I was at my friend Maya's. She lived at the end of the block that way. And we were playing dress up, or rather, she was playing dress Carma up, because she was a big kid and I was 3. And I got dressed up in this nice little outfit. I even had her shoes on. And at this point, after I'm all dressed up, my front tooth, which had been loose, came out. And oh my God, the tooth fairy's coming! So I grab my tooth and I go running home, still wearing the outfit that Maya had put on me. And I get home, and I get to the door, and I knock on the door, and Mom opens the door and says, Carma's not home. And slams the door in my face, and I'm like, okay. So I knock on the door again. And she opens the door with this expression of, what? And I go, but I'm Carma. And she looks at me and finally recognizes me and goes, oh, I gotta take a picture. So she goes running to the house, grabs the camera, takes a bunch of pictures. At this point, you can probably tell that my mom liked taking pictures. In fact, she was the family photographer and took most of the pictures that we have from our experience in Africa. She got really quick with the camera. But now I have another question for you. Picture this. Your kid has just been swept up by a pygmy and is being carried away through the jungle. What do you do? Now keep in mind, pygmies are known for killing people with poisoned darts. In fact, we hired a big man with a big machine gun to sort of prevent that from happening. So again, I ask you, a pygmy is running away with your toddler. What do you do?
Take a picture.
Yeah, that's what my mother did. That's what my mother did. She took a picture of me being carried away by a pygmy. Now, this pygmy was trying to earn points because I was being a typical little Virgo kid. The pathway was really slippery, muddy, and I was like, so she just picked me up and was helping out my parents. And yes, there was the big man with the big machine gun, but I still think just a little shred of concern. But at least now I can say I've been carried away by pygmies, and not a lot of people can say that. These are not all the tales I have from my time in Africa, but I only have 15 to 20 minutes to share with you, so now I'd like to conclude with why we left. My mother got pregnant with my little sister, and my little sister was born disabled. In fact, the pregnancy was difficult. The first sign that there was something wrong was when Mom compared her pregnancy with my sister to me. You see, I was a kicker. In fact, I still don't sit still very well. But my sister didn't move at all. She was completely still. And so my mom went to a cathedral in Nairobi and she prayed, what is going on with my child? And while she was there, she had a vision that she turned into this painting of the suffering Christ. This painting means a lot to me because I watched my mother paint this painting. In fact, I fell asleep at her feet while she painted it, and when I woke up, it was done. As you might guess, the actual birth of my sister, and here's a picture of her with me and my father in 1982, the birth was very difficult. She was born cesarean, and my mother hemorrhaged a lot of blood, and she almost died, and even while they were taking my sister out of the womb, they broke her leg. So it was a tough birth for both people. And my dad was afraid that he was not only going to lose his wife, but his newborn child as well. And so to kind of at least give me some memory of my sibling, he kind of snuck me into this area of the hospital. I was still outside, but I could see through the hallway into the area where my sister was in the crib. And I remember two things. One, she had a full head of curly black hair. I was a bald baby. I don't know how she managed it. And the other thing I remember was that she was really long. Of course, my arms were shorter at the time, so that might be why. Now, because they were staying in the hospital for so long, I was staying at home a lot by myself when my dad was at the hospital. And the neighborhood kids would come over, and this weird conversation would happen. They'd say, "Is it a boy or a girl?" And I'd say, "It's a girl." And they'd go, "What's her name?" And I'd go, "Tony." And they'd go, "Oh, it's a boy." I'm like, "No, it's a girl." "Well, then what's her name?" They couldn't get it through their head that Tony is a girl's name. So in 1971, my adventures in Africa came to an end. But even though I have left Africa, the Dark Continent has never left me. I carry a piece of Africa with me in my heart at all times, which is why I said I was an African at the beginning of my presentation. So I have Africa in my heart and all over my living room.